For the first little bit of class, we are just going to go through what all is on Blackboard, then have a 10-15 minute break and come back for actual lectures. Depending upon how far we get, we'll have another 10-15 minute break and then come back for the last little bit. So, Blackboard, everybody's new favorite thing to hate because it, like Facebook, decided it needed a facelift and it sucks, right? So, on Blackboard, when you go to the class, it'll take you straight into announcements. Okay, pretty much self-explanatory in that way. The place you're going to want to pay most attention to will be course materials, homework, exam work, and if you are not able to make it to class in person, live lectures and office hours will take you to a Zoom link. In past lecture videos, I will be posting all of the lecture videos after that night or the next day up to YouTube so you can watch them. Having said that, if you ever come across something in the book that you're not familiar with, there is an algebra review, which is all my lecture notes from when I taught algebra, as well as trig. Just to give you an idea of what all of that's going to look like. All of these lecture notes are based on how they're kind of broken down to the order in which they occurred relative to exams. So if there's something in a class or in a lecture that you're not clear on, and you want to figure out which set of lecture notes to look at, the first place to look would be the study guide. And then use that to kind of pace which days you want to look at, right? Having said that, I've linked some supplemental reading and some supplemental lectures up there for y'all. So if there's something I don't explain well and you don't want to wait on me to figure it out, you can check these links out and they should be able to help you. This 3 Blue 1 Brown is probably one of my favorite YouTube channels for explaining math material. The guy actually does a really good job at explaining logistics curves, which we'll talk about later in the semester. Logistic curves actually show up all over the place. In fact, this pandemic, whenever you're modeling pandemics, you use logistic curves. It's a really good video on just that. So supplemental stuff. Obviously, you'll want to know where your grades are. They'll be posted here. I'll try to post them and keep them up to date. That said, sometimes it's a hit or miss, right? Like we all have schedules that we have to keep outside of the classroom. And for that reason, I'm not always necessarily the best at making sure the grade on Blackboard is up to date, but it'll give you some ballpark idea, right? Having said all that, course materials. Literally everything you will need for this semester is already posted. If I could, I don't have student view button anymore, do I? No, I don't.
So will you post homework or course materials?
Homework, and I'll get to that in just a second, actually, because that's a really good question. But first, before we get to the homework stuff, everything in this course material tab is, as you see, broken down by exams. Your entire semester's worth of notes are already posted. There are a few study guides that are posted. There's a few things throughout different sections that I pulled from outside of the book that I thought would be useful. That said, if you're ever curious about what my philosophies are about how to teach, there's a teaching philosophy. I'm pretty easygoing about most things. If you're willing to put in the work, I see no reason why you shouldn't get credit for that work. So let's say you don't get a homework assignment done on time, shoot me an email. I'm usually going to say, yeah, I'll extend that to y'all or for y'all. Resources are just resources available to y'all through campus. This mathematical symbols and vocab notes, that's exactly what they are. They are just notes that if there's notation or what have you that you're like, what the fuck is this? I did not just say that. This is not recorded. I definitely, yeah. Oops, whatever. I can say fuck. So that's what this set of notes are all about, is really just to be like, if there's something you don't recognize. What else was there in course material that I wanted to point out to y'all? I think that was it in course materials. So you had asked about the homework. Homework will all be done through WebAssign, as will the exams, because not everybody is here in person. So for that reason, we're going to have exams done through WebAssign. Will be done with a locked browser feature. Where's the student view? Right there. It's going to look something like this for y'all. I do not have your first assignment posted yet. That is because when I went through and made it, I realized y'all were going to hate me because there were like 112 questions. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening. Typically, I only post like 30 questions a week. But because we're going a chapter a week almost, when I first started making everything, it was like 30 questions a section. And that added up really fast. So I'm going through and deleting these right now. But to give you an idea of what your homework will look like.
In locked browser during your test, or?
I'll explain the locked browser and all that in a second, yes. To give you an idea of what your homework will look like, if you haven't used WebAssign before, when this loads, if this loads, oh, there it goes, done. Your homework will be pretty straightforward. It'll just be a bunch of questions like these that you go through and answer like you normally would. Like I said, this first week, I am trimming down these questions. We're currently at 85, which is a huge improvement to the 112 that we started off with. Typically, every week, your homework will be, like I said, about 30 questions long. Your exams will be by and large set up the exact same way. In fact, most of your exam questions will be, I'm going to pull most of your exam questions from the WebAssign review sections that they have for these. So they're going to look almost identical to some of your homework problems. Having said that, you had asked about the exams. Yes, we're going to have a locked browser feature used. Yes, sir.
So for the homework assignments, is it just one submission or can we do multiple submissions?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So what I do, because of this whole philosophy, if you're willing to put in the work, I'm willing to give you credit for it, give you 100 submissions. That way, you don't have an excuse to go online and try to use like Wolfram Alpha or Symbolab to get the answer. You have plenty of time and plenty of opportunity to work the problems out yourself. This was just my way of saying, here's a carrot, please don't cheat, right? So when it comes to submissions, you have 100 submissions for the homework, and that's per question. Insofar as the exams are concerned, you will have a locked browser feature, which will require you to download something. I've not had to use it on the student end, so I don't know what that actually looks like, unfortunately. But you will also have 90 minutes per exam because it is on Blackboard, on WebAssign. We are going to still have class those days. And the way this is going to work out is you're going to have about 3 days to take your exam. So you can take your exam when you feel comfortable, right? This is, again, that sort of philosophy of, I don't want to screw y'all. We don't learn at the same rates. If you put me in a language course, I'm going to walk out with a helmet because I am that horrible with language. And for the same reason that I don't expect somebody, or I don't feel like somebody should expect me to learn a language at the same rate as they do, I don't expect everyone to learn math at the same rate. So I try to give you all a couple extra days to beat up on whatever it is you need to review before you take the exam. So you have a window in that way. Since class is Monday and Wednesday, what you'll probably have is Wednesday evening up until that following Monday to take your exams. That's probably what I'll end up doing. I think that's all I have to say about those. They're 90 minutes long. So what?
Questions is your normal test?
Normally, an exam's going to range anywhere from about 9 to 12 questions. They're going to be pretty much identical to your homework. So if you've done your homework, paid attention to those, you're going to know how to do your exam questions. Your exams will have 2 submissions per problem. So I do limit those in that case. And part of that thought is we all make mistakes when we type stuff in. I mean, I almost typed my password in just a minute ago the wrong way. So I wanted to make sure that typos weren't going to be the reason you got a problem wrong, right? Having said all of that, that is all I've got really about WebAssign, Blackboard, and exams. There is one other thing I should point out.
On exams, do we need working webcams?
I read 1984. I'm not all about Big Brother. So no, you don't need webcams.
How do we purchase our book or the?
Right, so you can buy your book with your WebAssign key and get an ebook. You could buy your book, a physical copy and a WebAssign copy through the bookstore, or you could do the Amazon route, right? I would honestly suggest an ebook. And if you're going to buy a physical copy, try to buy it on Amazon because it'll be cheaper for y'all. I did not say that for any faculty who may be watching this later. I did not just tell somebody, my students, to not support our bookstore. Yeah, anyhow. So the next obvious thing to talk about will be grades. How are grades going to break down? Grades, that is not big enough. Let me zoom in. Grades are going to break down to be about 10% per exam. Your WebAssign homework will account for 40% of your grade, and the final account for 20%. So you will have 5 exams in total. 4 of them will be typical exams, and then 1 will be the final. Beyond that, the only other thing we really need to talk about on the syllabus is the pacing of the class. Zoom back out. That was a bit extra of me. There we go. So what I literally did to make the syllabus, in particular this, was go through and just take every 2 weeks and compact them to 1 week. So week 1, week 2, we're going to go through section 1.1 to 1.6. Obviously, we're not going to get through all of that today. So what I am constituting as week 1 will be next week. We're probably going to get up to, I would guess, 1.3, a little bit of 1.4 today, at best. Your first exam will be the following week. And then from there, everything else follows pretty much the exact same way as you would expect it to. Make sense what I mean? Yeah. What else did I have to say about all of this? Yeah, this little note down here at the bottom about I will try to only give exams on the last day of the week doesn't really apply to this class, right? Because like I said, you'll have Wednesday up to Monday is my plan for y'all to be able to take your exam whenever y'all want in that window. What else?
Is there a final?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, it's just that's very, it is, no.
Yeah, I didn't know when the final was, like what exact day. The final will be, what I'll end up doing is probably like I did for my last class. Just have the entire week, your final week, so you can take it anytime during the week. But because I wasn't sure the exact week that that was going to occur, I went ahead and just said, I don't know, I'll come back to it. Office hours, I said in the syllabus will be by appointment. That was, again, because I wasn't sure how we were going to run office hours this summer. I will have official office hour times. They will be in my office on the main campus. I just don't know what exactly those hours will be. But my office is in Jabbar 325. So you take the elevator to the 3rd floor because screw walking up those stairs. And coming out of the elevator, you take a right, take another right, and I'm in the very back corner. Beyond all of that, that is all I've got for introductions. How about y'all? What questions do y'all have for me?
So when would the homework usually be due?
Typically what I try to do is I have the homework set up so that there's at least one day of lecture in between so you can ask questions in class. What that will mean for our class is that it will probably be Wednesday to Wednesday, so that you at least have Monday to ask questions. But you'll also have those Wednesdays as well. So expect it to be about a week. The homework assignments are going to be 30 problems, give or take. 7 days, that's what, 4 problems an hour, right? Or 4 problems a day is what I mean to say. So not too arduous there, right? There are a few online resources that I've already mentioned and you will undoubtedly discover on your own, but I'd rather go ahead and show them to y'all. Wolfram Alpha. It's great. If there's a problem you don't know how to solve, it will let you check your work. This is really what I want y'all to use it for if you're going to use it at all. You can use Wolfram Alpha to check your work, but it's not just good for math, which I will demonstrate now. +2 is equal to 0. It's going to tell you things like what the root of this is. So x cubed is equal to -2, which means cubed root of 2, the negative cubed root of 2, is what x is equal to, and that's going to give you some complex numbers. And it kind of gives you a basic idea of how to solve that problem. But beyond just math, I think I just butchered her name. I did, oh well. It also lets you Google other things. So for example, you're in a lit class and you have to look something up. This is a great resource to start off with because it'll also give you basic information about different events in history, different figures in history, just a good resource to know about in general. That's Wolfram Alpha. The other one that you will undoubtedly discover on your own is Symbolab. Symbolab is great if you don't know how to solve a problem and you've got like 3 or 4 problems like it. So you're the first one, you're going to check your work or figure out what the work is going to look like. This does a really good job of walking you through it. Gives you step-by-step solutions. And in the case of these types of resources, what I would like to see you all do if you use these, come to Symbolab if you don't even know how to start the problem. In that case, it's cool, right? Like we all have to figure out where to start. If you don't know how to, you can't get hold of me, Symbolab is a great place. If, however, what you're trying to do is check your work, Wolfram Alpha. Do not, however, go to every last problem and say, how do I do this problem, Symbolab? How do I do this problem, Wolfram Alpha? Because if you do that, you won't learn anything. It won't help you. You're just going to become totally reliant on the technology. And that's not the point of this class, nor of these technologies. So use these when you're stuck and can't find a way out. Make sense? Yep. So, all of this aside, like I started to ask a second ago, any questions? No? Well, in that case, I will let y'all take a quick break. We'll come back for the actual lectures.